Welcome to the Coaches Preview Show. I'm your host, Darrin Joins, and I want to welcome today's guests. Battle of the Woods is tonight in football. We've got Ron Crawford, head coach at Brentwood High School, Matt Daniels, head coach at Ravenwood High School. Gentlemen, I appreciate you joining me for this kind of odd setup for our coaches show.
Absolutely. Everything's been odd. Yeah, thanks.
Welcome to 2020, right?
Yes, sir.
The Battle of the Woods is always special, really, any sport. To that point, you take a look at volleyball earlier this week, well-attended, great matchup. And I think it's like that for any sport when you're talking Brentwood, Ravenwood. But in football, the past couple of years, it's really meant region champion and state semifinalist when you take a look at your matchup. So I think it's even been a little bit more special. And Coach Crawford, I was going to ask you this since you've been in the district a little longer than Coach Daniels and myself. I noticed on the trophy, it says Battle of the Wood, but all the logos that we have at the district level, we say Battle of the Woods with an S. Is that something you're even aware of, or what's it supposed to be?
I don't know. Coach Daniels, not Coach Matt Daniels, but when Coach Jack Daniels, who's no relation, I don't think, Matt, but anyway, when he did it, I wanted to call it the battle of the SUVs. I wanted to call it the SUV Bowl. But that didn't sink in real well. So he did it. So he's probably in Hawaii, I think, with his son, who was a team captain here. So I mean, obviously, then Coach Joins, you've been mispronouncing it for the last couple of years here.
Well, so Coach Daniels, I don't know if did you ever notice that, Coach Daniels, because I think it's made of, there's like a piece of wood on it.
Yep. And now that you mentioned that, I remember seeing that without the S, but that just, to me, has less of a ring to it. I think, it's Brentwood, Ravenwood. There's two woods. So the plural sounds better. It has a better ring to it.
Hey, and forgive me for a person I asked, Matt Davenport, who you guys may or may not know. He helped me coach basketball over at Franklin. He's big time athlete at Brentwood High School. I asked him about it, and he said, I think maybe when it started, we were talking about it was called the Battle of the Wood because both schools were located in Brentwood. But like Coach Daniels said, the ring of it's Brentwood, Ravenwood, there's two woods. So anyway, I thought this has nothing to do with tonight's game, by the way. I just thought that was pretty interesting.
Battle of I-65 North, I guess.
That's right. Or Battle of the SUVs. I'll ask you guys this, and I'll start with Coach Daniels. And I give you guys all the credit as coaches. We met earlier in the season. You guys were concerned. We got together, all the football coaches in the district and myself, and you guys came up with, I thought, a wonderful plan for us to be able to go from merely conditioning to trying to get to a game. Let me ask you this, Coach Daniels, how's that been going? I know it's different, but talk about maybe the challenges there.
Well, what I thought was cool, you're referring to that meeting, all the head coaches coming together and regardless of rivalries and things like that, all being on the same page as far as what do we want for the kids? What do we want for our programs? And, I think a nice little offshoot and maybe a byproduct that we didn't necessarily expect is, we found some efficiencies, I think, in our practice plans that may not have been taken advantage of before, and that's focusing on the time limit of being in close contact and things like that. So while it was initially challenging and I think a learning curve for the kids and coaches to make sure that we're prompt and when we're changing between drills and separating for water breaks and things like that, now it's become second nature. We've always stressed not practicing for more than 2 hours. We've been able to shrink that even a little bit more by just being more efficient within our time constraints and our, physical distancing restraints. So I wouldn't necessarily say that they're continuing to be challenges. Now it's just reminders, reminders of what to do when we're not with you, right? We can keep an eye on them when we're at practice. as we're pushing them through the locker room as quickly as possible, rotating through weight rooms. But now it's, hey, when we're not with you, here's what we need to be focused on.
Coach Crawford, would you echo that or anything you could add?
Yeah, I think so. I think that it was good that we could all come together but I mean, the coolest thing was, like Coach Daniels said, was, all of us wanted to give our kids an opportunity to play, and really led by you, Coach Joins, to figure out the best practices we could possibly do. And I've been involved in that some with the Tennessee Football Coaches Association, and some of the speakers that we've had in our meetings talking about best practices and that type thing. So I think it's been, it was really a good document created with everybody's hands on it. And I was glad everyone felt ownership to it. And it seems to have gone really, really well for everyone, because I think, before school started, we were all pretty, clean as far as, not having any exposure. So I think that's the thing that it proves our plan. And I say our because it was ours, it was all of our football, and you, Coach Jones, that it was a pretty good plan that we really put it together. And I'm like Coach Daniels. Now it's just reminders, man. We're in school, so it's constant reminders all day, every day, because we're dealing with human beings, and the want and the need to be near each other and to share common things is difficult the way we're having to do it. But I just commend everybody, the schools, administrators, and everybody to get us in school and give these kids some normalcy. Even though it is different, I'll commend everybody for giving us a chance to play and giving us a chance to go to school. I'm just grateful for those things.
Let me ask you this, and again, we'll start with Coach Daniels. When you see some things that happen, it's not a secret. Fairview's not able to play this week. Their school has been shut down until September 28th. Does the reality of that, when you see that kind of thing, does it kind of sink in, or you just say, I can't worry about that. We're going to savor each day, each game, but I'm not going to focus on that too much. What's that natural reaction when you see something like that?
Well, I think the natural reaction is, you get comfortable, and we haven't had any issues, the first 4 weeks. So you get comfortable, we're talking about human nature, as Ron stated, it's human nature to begin to take things for granted when things get comfortable. And we just want to try to avoid that feeling. So I certainly, when I heard that Fairview news, hours before game time last Friday, and then obviously the news as of yesterday of the continued shutdown, it's something we want to bring to the attention of not only our players, but the rest of our school building as well, because everybody needs to understand that this isn't just an isolated thing. It's an illness that can spread quickly. And given our physical situation in the school building, it can affect lots of different groups, whether it's band, football, clubs, other organizations. So to try to get everybody on the same page that, hey, this can happen. And specifically football wise, it happened hours before a Friday night game. So the fact that can be taken from you and out of your control is a rude awakening, obviously, and something, again, just one of those reminders daily at practice. This could be the last time we're together this week, based on stuff that you aren't even a part of, what other people are doing. So, make it be your best practice of the week. Prepare as if it's the last one. So that kind of helps with some built-in motivation. Coach Crawford?
The same response as Coach Daniels. It's just that we're day by day, man. We know it. And, we've been impacted by it with kids that are going through the contact tracing. So we've been impacted by it. Next man goes in and you move on just like an injury would in our sport or any other sport. Our girls soccer team has been greatly impacted and shut down for a couple of weeks. Volleyball has been greatly impacted. So I think it's been first and foremost here because it's happened at our school. Our kids have seen it and they're really cognizant of it, really conscious of it. So I think making sure that you enjoy it, like we so far today, we get to play football. So I think that's the best way to look at it. And every day is a treasure and every game's a treasure.
Let's talk a little bit more about this matchup, if you look at the history of this matchup, it's really fascinating, really taking a look at it. Brentwood leads the overall series 11-10. Ravenwood has won 6 of the last 9, 3-1 in the playoffs. Coach Daniels, 3-2 Battle of the Woods. Coach Crawford, 10-8 during his 2 stints at Brentwood. And then the last 2 years to me are the really fascinating ones. You play during the regular season. Both times Brentwood comes out on top. You're region champions. And then you match up in the quarterfinals. Ravenwood comes out on top. It's just such a special matchup. And to me, I know you guys aren't looking ahead like I have the luxury of doing, but I just feel like we're heading for the same kind of thing this year in terms of this game really impacting the region championship as well as a potential matchup in the playoffs. So I'll start with Coach Crawford on this one. There's always something on the line, it seems like, when you're playing football against one another. It's going to be important no matter what, but it seems even bigger because of where you're standing really as the powers of the league the past couple of years.
Yeah, man. And I think, our league is so balanced and so even. We're 0-0 in the region because Dixon couldn't play because of COVID. And then Ravenwood's 1-0. So I think, but we don't have any control over that. All we can control is Friday night. And, it's a big game because it's Brentwood, Ravenwood. But literally, it would be a big game for either team because it's a region game nonetheless. It's just, what I hate for our kids is the environment that we typically have with both student sections full and having fun. I hate that for our kids. But, what I've experienced so far this year in the 3 games we've played is once you start playing football, it just becomes another game. So I think that, just looking ahead does none of us any good during the season. We need to compete and play well Friday night. We put 2 good quarters together last week. We know we're going to need to play well for 4 quarters to have any opportunity to be successful Friday night.
Coach Daniels, something I've noticed, and Coach Crawford alluded to this, when I've gone to the games, I think our schools are doing a good job, and I give the administration and safety and security and Dr. Webb, who I work with closely, and Mr. Golden as well. I think we've been pretty creative in terms of where we're putting people. But my comment several times has been, these crowds that we have, and we are following the guidelines, and it's about a third, that's close. Most people would actually kill for the crowds we've had even in these games. Have you noticed that, Coach Daniels, at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's all relative. The enthusiasm of the number of people that are there, I think has elevated a little bit. I think back to our Franklin game on the road. That student section was pretty energetic and had a factor, or was a factor in the game. So, I think the people that are there, maybe the parents a little bit more louder than normal because they know what they need to make up for. But I think the cool part is people have felt, and I've heard this from my family and other people that are fans, and they just said they felt comfortable with the way, the county and other people have been setting up the stadium so that you never feel, regardless of your belief about COVID, that you just never feel like you're put in a position to feel uncomfortable. And I think that's pretty cool, obviously at the county level. As Ron alluded to, once the game starts, you kind of get locked in and you block out that noise, anyways, as the players and coaches. But, from a Battle of the Woods standpoint, those games, these last few years, man, the crowd size and noise it's tough to ignore, especially early on when you kind of want to take all that in before the opening kickoff. And, I think a little of that will be missing. But, the other thing I think about this matchup that's probably the most unique, particularly this year, is that we haven't had those scrimmages. We haven't had those early competitive scenarios in the summer where, by the time we get to week 5 in previous years, both teams are in a position where a little bit more about yourselves. We're doing some things, making some decisions at this point of the year that because of the situation this year, we might not do in other years. So that'll be interesting to see personnel wise and substitution wise, if that's going to impact this matchup, whereas in previous years it might not have. So I'm expecting just a fun game, a fun atmosphere, regardless of the size of the crowd. And like Ron said, man, whoever comes out on top, tonight is going to have to play 4 quarters of football. And I think we're this early in the year are still searching for a 4-quarter game on our end.
Coach Crawford, talk a little bit about your time at Brentwood. 162 wins for your career, 141 of those at Brentwood. I bet you don't even know that stat. Knowing you, I bet you don't even have an idea that that's how many you have. But to me, when I think about you and getting to know you better the past couple of years, which I've really enjoyed, you're kind of Brentwood, honestly. I know you'll humbly say that's not true, but you're so associated with that school. When you talk to people around the district and other districts, your name comes up pretty quickly when you're talking about Brentwood. And I think we maybe talked about this. I know I had this conversation with Coach King when he came back, but this second stint, it almost feels more special maybe because you had some time without it. Is that true?
I mean, it's flattering. And really Jack Daniels is the one that got this program on its feet and got it going. And we kind of followed in his footsteps. We're happy we were able to keep some consistency and some success going. But I think anytime you leave a place you love, because when I left, I loved it when I left. I just needed to, I think I needed a change, and that happens sometimes to people, and I needed to serve a different type of community. Then I found out I guess in my absence that maybe I did make a difference, and I just wasn't realizing it. And that has nothing to do with wins and losses. That's making a difference in young people's lives. So I think that, it's probably been a more appreciative deal here. And I think the compliment in this series goes to Ravenwood being a new school and this series being even. I mean, I think that's the one thing that, that when I got here was Ravenwood's first year open. So I think, compliment to them in a short history, the success that they've been able to have. So I think, it probably is a little bit more special. I'm older too. People, know a lot of that because I'm old. So, I hope I'm not that old and I can go a little bit longer, but I'm appreciative of that fact. And I don't take it lightly. Don't take my job lightly. And as long as I feel like I can continue to make a difference in young people's life, I've still got a while to retire, even though I know I'm white-headed. Well, I'm bald-headed. But that's a compliment. I don't know what it means. This maybe means that I've been here a while, but Dennis King was my hero, man. And it was awesome when we had me, Dennis King, and Nick Wagner. And of all of us, I was the tallest one. So we were kind of the midget mafia over here for a while now. So, that's flattering, and I appreciate it, Darrin. But, kids win games. Coaches have an impact, but kids win games.
Coach Daniels, 4th year as the head coach at Ravenwood. Great start to your career. 36-9 overall, lost in the state championship game last year. And I don't know if you're aware of this. Maybe you are, because I've said it before. Year 1, quarterfinals. Year 2, semifinals. Year 3, state championship game. So there's really only one more progression. If it goes along those lines, then maybe we see a Ravenwood state championship this year. How's that sound?
Well, obviously, that sounds great. I think that's just kind of been the luck of the last couple of years. I don't necessarily know that it's been, maybe it's been on our kids' mind, but that hasn't been an emphasis point for us. The media, you guys are paid to look at stuff like that and bring that to the forefront of the discussion. But for us, obviously we want to improve every year. As a program, you want to set standards and not just winning on the field, but standards for your culture, standards of what you're doing in the classroom. And you want to live up to those standards and push those standards every year. And I think both schools and programs have done a tremendous job of doing that. I think the really interesting thing, I think back to my time in Texas as a high schooler, the biggest thing was in Southlake, at the time they started discussing opening a second high school, which would be very similar to what happened when Ravenwood opened. And everybody in the community was absolutely against opening a second high school and what that would do to athletics and academics. What I want to do is return to Southlake and say, hey, I'm coaching up here in Brentwood, Tennessee, and we got two pretty phenomenal high schools and programs going in the same town, 3, 4, 5 miles apart from one another. So I think it's a pretty cool blueprint. I appreciate what Ron said about, some young success. We've gotten lucky with, good resources and being a part of the city of Brentwood has benefited us. And, the families that move to this area care about athletics and football, and we have that community support that's built in for both of our schools and programs. But, you also talk about Ron and his tenure and what he's done as a successful head football coach. For me, I feel like, people look at me as the newcomer and young and all this stuff, but, I'm a coach that looks for mentors, around me, and whether that's from our biggest rival or, Coach Hester, a previous coach at Ravenwood, or even guys, who might be around my age but have been a head coach longer. I feel lucky to be in this county and in our region specifically with guys like Ron and Donnie Webb, that I can look to for, first time situations for me and how do I handle this? And, Ron, I think from the last couple of years, we've had some bitter moments and some, really nice moments and text conversations and things like that. We've both been through different things. And I think that's cool that ultimately we share the fact that we lead to really, really cool and successful football programs and are a part of similar communities. And we can kind of share that and ultimately at the end of the day have that common ground.
Well, it is special, your two schools. You think about when that split, I'm sure at the time it was pretty contentious and people were upset about it, and kind of like what happened with you guys at Ravenwood with Nolensville. But obviously it's turned out great. It's one of the best rivalries, not only in this district, in this county, the region for you guys, but certainly in the entire state, I would say. Let's talk a little bit about changes here. So Coach Crawford, if you would real quick, talk about the difficulties there. And who knows, it might happen again, but you had to make some changes there for week 1 and 2. You start out, you think you've got a schedule, then all of a sudden you've got to change. Talk about the challenges there.
Well, it's affected Coach Daniels as well. And we're all dealing with it. And we just really basically got lucky. If you can call playing Brentwood Academy lucky, but Nolensville agreed to play us and Brentwood Academy agreed to play us. And, that's a game that probably needs to be played. And I've got to get over some biases I've had for years when, there's no shame in losing to Brentwood Academy. There's no shame in losing to Ravenwood High School. There's no shame in losing to Brentwood High School. So I think, when you realize that and you want to play good people, I think that makes a difference. So it fell in our lap. They were in the same boat we are. And I know Coach has had some struggles in his with later dates down the road. And basically we got lucky. And I think, I know Coach Daniels probably feels like me. He's like, we get the schedule again this year, which is going to be anybody on my staff can take it if they want it. I promise. So we'll again, both schools are going to end up having to play killer non-league schedules. Just nobody's going to play us. I don't know why, but they won't. I think, man, the key thing, what Matt said doesn't get said enough, man, is, people love our community for the education. There's no doubt about it. But they love our community also for the extracurricular, for the athletic programs, not just football, for the athletic programs, for the band programs. I think that can't have enough emphasis during this time of what that means to a kid's life. So I'm glad he brought it up because that's and in your role too, there's people understanding that we get a lot of people moving in here because of our extracurricular activities. And that hopefully will fall upon you and our board and our central office to continue to help us provide the best opportunities we can for kids outside of the school day, because that's a huge part of their education. Just ask all those Metro Davidson County schools that can't compete and can't be in school, and we're blessed, man. We're blessed.
Coach Daniels, you've had obviously some schedule changes to deal with too, and I think we can officially say this. You've added IMG, obviously a national kind of program name, and it's going to be the first ESPN game in WCS, which I think is pretty darn special.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And any
we can say that, can't we? That it's ESPN.
Yeah. I think the press release went out this morning, and that's something that obviously I don't want that to be a distraction this week. But regardless of who we're playing, if you get a chance to play on that stage, I think we've seen BA and Knox Catholic played on last year, and Knox got to do that again. And regardless of the outcome of that game, I think it'll be just a special night for a lot of our seniors. And what I think about is, we've had some talented guys here. Coach Crawford, same thing with Walker and Cade and House, and these guys that are going to go on and get a chance to play on ESPN quite a bit, and maybe not only in the next 4 years, but maybe in the NFL at some point. But the majority of the kids on our roster, that will be the pinnacle of their high school experience and their high school career. And just to have an opportunity to do that, it's something that I did not want to pass up. And, regardless of how that game goes down, I want to get out of it healthy. I want to get out of it as gaining some valuable experience playing a really talented team, so that come playoffs, there's nothing we haven't seen at that point.
Let's talk about last week's games real quickly. Brentwood with a dominating performance over Henry County, 55-17. And it's not like Henry County can't play. I mean, that's an impressive team. But I looked at total yards, Coach, and it was something like 513 to 238. Obviously, Cade Granzow had a big game. I think I'd read that in a 6-minute span that you'd run 7 plays, and he had 4 touchdown passes. Walker Merrill, we talk about a lot, obviously, with your team. But a name that has really started to stand out for me, at least, watching the games, is Aaron Walton. He's really played well for you guys.
Yeah, he's a really talented multi-sport player. He was a guy that we had to figure out what he was. Kind of was a tight end, H-back as a freshman, and then he runs really well. So we used him outside last year because we thought, man, that could really help us. So this year, I don't think probably either of our squads are as deep as they were a year ago. So I noticed, I know what we're doing. I noticed Coach Daniels and them doing. We're having to find different roles for different people, and sometimes people are having to play a couple of different roles. So we've really used Aaron in multiple roles out of the backfield, from a tight end spot, from a slot, and from outside. And he's also punted for us. So really, really talented kid. And he's been just a joy to coach. He's one of those that can't get him to say much. He smiles a lot and competes very, very hard. So it's good to him, and I'm sure he benefits from a great player like Walker on the field as well. So, but yeah, Aaron's done an unbelievably good job for us, and we're excited about this year, him continuing to get better and us find more ways to get him the football.
Ravenwood taking on Pulaski Academy, another game, Coach, for you guys that had maybe kind of a national feel to it. Last year's state champion in Arkansas at the 5A level. Very entertaining game. You take the lead 7-0. You get down early in the third quarter, 22-7, and then the tide just seemed to change. You guys tied it up at 22, also tied at 29 all. We're driving there late in the game before you had a fumble. But I thought really in particular that second half that you guys really stepped up offensively. And again, with Ravenwood, I feel like you've got a guy who's very similar to Granzow at Brentwood. When I think of Trevor Andrews and what he's done this year, some of his skill set and the way you guys utilize him, I think is pretty similar. Is that a fair assessment, Coach?
I do. I think the only difference is experience at that quarterback position. Trevor didn't have that experience last year. He shifted to wide receiver for us, and was one of Garcia's trusted guys last year from that receiver position. But Trevor, I would imagine, hearing people talk about Cade and the type of kid he is and the type of leader he is, multi-sport guy. Trevor's a basketball kid, helped out last year as a point guard, as a junior on Whitlock's basketball team. So I do think they're similar. I think they're similar as leaders and as captains, also in their style of play. I think for both of us, probably Ron and I would prefer that those guys maybe take some less hits and be a little bit more conservative when it comes to running the football. That's something that you got to kind of take the good with the bad for a competitor and for a guy that you want the ball in his hands. So Trevor's done a really good job. He had a couple turnovers last game, and I think that rattled him ever so slightly. But that's going to happen when you touch the ball every snap. On offense, you obviously want to take care of the football as much as possible. But those games are going to happen, and like you said, we battled back in the second half and overcame some of the mistakes in the first half that were dooming us. So to take some silver lining from that, our special teams performed really well. Our offense got it going. Probably just a little bit too late to kind of put that game away. So I think it prepared us for this week and being maybe a little bit more focused than we would have been had we eked that game out.
Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you guys joining me. Again, I know it's a little different setup. We're so looking forward to tonight's game. I think, my prediction at least, the first of 2 editions of the Battle of the Woods. We're going with Woods at this time. I'm really looking forward to tonight. And again, I appreciate you guys being here today.
Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us for the Coaches Show. We'll see you next time.